He should give you.
Okay, we should be live for those logging on at home. I'll just mention that our board president, Brett McCurdy, texted he's some issues at work, he's on his way. But we do have a quorum, and since it's 5:15, we'll ask Tashina as vice president to call us to order and get started.
Perfect. So 5:15, we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to start with the committee meeting portion of tonight, and we'll start with curriculum and policy. So, is this something that you take over?
Yep, so the first item that's listed there is a draft policy, 371.1, which is an exhibit. It'd be attached to 371.1, dealing with student organizations and fund management. So this is tied to the conversation we had at our last meeting with respect to making determinations around how, well, what the process is, or how the district or the high school handles a request from a staff member or, potentially a community member that's serving in a volunteer capacity but running a club or a sport. And the things we cited were things like art club, track club, esports, some long-standing things and some things that have been recently developed. Based on that feedback and conversation, then the direction you gave me was, well, let's take a look at this policy, and then we can have a policy draft, which is why you can see it's all in red. So there's nothing that's being changed or replaced, it's all new. But it lays out some protocols and expectations that an individual would have to complete/meet prior to it receiving administrative approval and then coming forward potentially to the board for approval. And then the tie, as you get towards the end, would be to identify where on our co-curricular slash extracurricular compensation framework this may fall. And so it asks the person fulfilling the application to do that, but that would also take conversation between myself, Mike, Tara, potentially even other coaches or advisors to get an idea of how many hours, how many kids, how many practices, how many events, those sorts of things, so we can get our arms around what a reasonable request for compensation may be.
Perfect. Thanks for presenting that. So you guys have, like you said, the copy in red in your packet. Any discussion, concerns, questions for Craig? I did have one. I thought, Craig, with the proposal of the application, should we add something about like attachments, like data tracking attachments or anything to the application? Like, and what I mean by that is if someone is kind of tracking over the 3 years, anything that would be, I don't know what you would call it, like supplemental to help build credibility to their case or something for creating the proposal or their submitting an application. And just that's just minor that I thought might be a nice addition.
Totally makes sense. And it's an easy sentence or two we can add in the introductory paragraph, or along with some other questions, whatever the case may be. So, yep.
I have one question about the 3-year viability of it, and it says 10 active students under the policy. Does it have to have 10 active students in the 3-year period, or does it just have to have 10 active students on the 3rd year when it's being submitted for approval?
So, what I want to do is leave it open a bit for interpretation, because I also don't want to shut the door. If it's something awesome and it serves 9 students or 8 students or 7 students, we might be like, yeah, let's go ahead with this. If it's something that is, I don't know, 40 students, however, there isn't, other elements, you see what I'm saying, they couldn't meet the student criteria. We wanted to put a number down, but I would also say that it's not hard and fast. And to be direct to answer your question, I would say a rolling average. So if we know that you started on year 1, you had 5, year 2, you had 7, and now year 3, you have 11, I think a reasonable question would be, what do you anticipate for next year? That kind of thing. But the whole idea wouldn't be to make it a hurdle that's unachievable. Because I could see us considering, like if there's, again, 8 kids you would probably still see that coming forward, because there are, in a school our size, some clubs or groups that do have a limited number of kids. Although I also didn't want to put it out there to say that there isn't a guideline number. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was just asking because it says under policy and references, so I didn't know if there was like a strict has to be, and then if it's over the timeframe or, you know what I mean?
Yes, I understand where you're coming from. That number 10 is, I believe, and I'm not looking at 371.1 regular policy, but I believe that number is referenced in that. I think. Which is about student organizations.
Any other questions?
For me?
So do we do want to see move forward with it for potential approval at our next meeting? Yep.
Sure.
Okay, perfect. And I'll make a modification with adding the,
Yeah.
please include
I think
visual
any type of
attachments.
general sentence about supplemental items.
No problem at all.
Okay. All right, moving down, another item in the packet, discuss proposal for additional in-school employment opportunities for transition age special education students.
Yeah, so last year, Shelley Schmitz and Taya Spardall, did I say that right, Mike?
Yep.
Thank you. Made a request to the board for creating or developing a program for students with special needs that have jobs, compensated jobs, within the district as an employer. At the time, we requested 2 positions, minimum wage paid positions, and a grant funded an additional 2. They had again applied for the grant. They did not get the grant this year. So what we are requesting is to add 2 more. So we would be paying for 4 minimum wage students to do various jobs throughout the district. You can see it's 5 to 10 hours a week. It's not anything that's extremely costly. It's not a significant burden to the district. And we explore opportunities for them throughout the district in terms of facilities, buildings and grounds, food service, maybe, boy, I'm trying to think, my mind's going blank. Other easily coordinated jobs that they can do in a fairly minimal basis and receive compensation for. This aids in their state-required IEP transition goals and plans, which is a trajectory towards the workforce. And when we had talked about this initially, when it was grant funded for the 2 other positions, we talked about opportunities like Project Search that schools had offered and the cost associated with those. Those, of course, are much more comprehensive programs. But as I mentioned but they do a similar job. And as I mentioned in the board update, my hope, our hope, is that through outreach with local employers like Quick Trip or the hospital, Dairy Queen, that we can cultivate some opportunities for kids and broaden that perspective where they're paying this kid with minimum wage 5 to 10 hours a week, and they're doing, let's call it a more legitimate job, a job that we know that they could do in the future, working at Quick Trip or the hospital and that sort of thing. And so that's also the process, although we don't have anything on the horizon that we could lock down for the start of the school year.
Can I ask about, so I like that with keeping to the 4, even though the ask is for us to help fund 2, would it be all 4? I'm sorry, was it all 4 or 2? 2.
2 more,
2 more.
so you would be
Yeah.
acting
Yeah.
on funding a total of 4,
Yeah,
but simply adding 2.
that's right.
Yep.
So I like the approach that we're trying to at least sustain what we have, and not like scaling it back down to 2 or something. I like that. But my question is, that original funding source, is that an annual funding source that they would try to go after like next year to?
Correct. So
Okay.
they'll continue to look for this grant and
Every-
other adjacent grants that may be eligible and won't be applied. Yep.
Any other questions, concerns?
We are going to ask for action on this at the board meeting because we want to implement generally with the start of the school year, if it's approved.
All right, we're good? You good, Craig?
Yep.
Okay, next one, discussion regarding a board basket for the Star Foundation bingo event, which I believe happens in October.
October 17th was
October
the date.
17th, okay. Do you want me to lead that? I can't remember what we've done in the past, what we've done in the past.
I think we did cash the last
Just cash.
couple of years and then they put it together.
That's right.
Either like a wallet or added it to something. And it was, or sponsored around the bingo one year, I think.
That's correct.
Mhm.
Last year, the board donation was used as prizes, I think.
Yep, it was around the bingo.
Yeah. More than one, I think it was a couple. Three.
Yeah, I think they did it because each bingo has three,
Yeah,
potential
up to 3 winners.
And so just to keep the cash awarded,
Yeah.
they played until all of the prizes.
Brent, for your reference, we're on the Star Ward Basket donation conversation.
All right,
We're not too far.
go ahead and keep going.
I was gonna say with this one, and then just because Jesse, this will be your first item with this, and guys correct me if I'm wrong. This is an item where if we decide to do it, it comes out of our own pockets. It's not out of, like a board fund, it's us, like individually coming together. I think in years past, we've done 20, we've also done 40 each, so I think we just need to decide what we wanna do
Yeah,
there.
like, do you want to do it, and then how much do you want to do?
Yeah.
And so there's no decision-making that needs to happen tonight, although I went back to last year's agenda, same meeting, a year ago, and that was on the agenda, which is why I threw it on, just to get your wheels turning. Like the admin team, Rita coordinates the whole thing, so it's awesome. Everybody gives you $40, and then there's an admin team basket that basically Rita puts together.
They say they're gonna give me 40 bucks.
You're on film here, you can see that it's happening right now.
Just for the record, I have Kirk's $40, but it's on my desk and I have to get cash. and I want to-
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
This is on public record, so yes.
Yeah, let the video show Chris Wallace just handed Rita Platt $40.
No, Mike.
Oh, and Michael.
No,
I
no
didn't
one
see
saw
it.
Mike do it.
We'll have to go back and review the tape. So yeah, that's the deal.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so if the group is in favor of it, I think we keep giving. This is a good way for us to help support the event in a good way. $40 seems reasonable, and then I think at this point, can we just find out like timeline, like what would be best for us to get the money here, put in an envelope and hand it over?
You know, to be honest with you, I think any time before the start of before October. I mean, I
Next
think,
board meeting.
So maybe.
yeah, I think last year we ended up getting it till like a couple weeks before, to be honest with you. But
Is the board doing it with the admin team? Because I think last year they were two separate.
We're separate.
Yeah.
We were separate, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cash and envelope.
Yeah.
Okay. Any concerns?
So just bring on $40 next board meeting.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what I can do is, once I get some contributions, I'll throw in an envelope and keep track of everybody and get the star when the time is right.
All right, okay.
Perfect.
Do you mind if I just continue,
Yeah, go ahead.
and then you can kind of tag in maybe at the
We'll just start
board
with the, yeah. we'll start
committee
with
or
the-
after? Okay, perfect. All right, okay, so next one is discuss prom 2027, date of April 24th, 2027. Or Mike?
Typical date, it's been that same weekend for years, so it works well into the calendars, the sports calendars, and weather calendar usually. So,
And that's a comparable date to prior years, right?
yep,
Yeah.
essentially the same.
And there's no, like events, sporting events, anything?
Right, yeah, we've kind of got I won't say concrete, but a system in place that it makes a lot of sense to do it then, and we've already had conversation with the venue on availability. We do that a couple of years in advance, just to make sure we've got those things potentially lined up.
Okay. All right, anything else on that one?
That's it.
No. Okay, so next is under financial, discuss purchase of the 2023 Chrysler Pacifica, and I believe that there was the total page 8 from Johnson Motors in the packet here.
Yeah, the invoice is in the
For
packet.
invoice, sorry.
28,121.45. And what I would mention is that we've already purchased the van. The reason we did that is it's not atypical for things like, and clearly purchasing a van is not technically an emergency, but policy allows administrative purchases over the board designated limit of $20,000 in certain circumstances or emergency circumstances. The problem with purchasing a vehicle or a used vehicle is the fact that if you run around and get bids and then you go and you're like, okay, we approve it, and 30 days later, or 45 days later, or even 10 days later, you go and say, okay, we're ready to buy the van, here's the check, and they go, we sold the van. So there really isn't a mechanism by which you can purchase vehicles, used vehicles, that are on the market in a reasonable capacity without making that administrative judgment. This van, to be clear, as I mentioned in the board update too, is not technically a replacement van, because we have a lot of transportation needs and a lot of special ed, homeless, and other various transportation needs that require an additional van. We did also have our state trooper, who's a great guy, does our inspections and so forth, make certain that we knew that a certain large cargo van that we have is not technically allowable under statute for transporting students, so we're also avoiding doing that. We did use that van on a couple of occasions last year because we had no other choice. And so this will be assisted in that regard too. There's a rule on the books in Wisconsin that if it accommodates more than 9 passengers plus the driver, you're not able to use it under statute for student transportation. And most people look at you and be like, why? And I'm like, right? It's in the statute. And why do they have 12 and 15 passenger vans? Not for schools to use. I'm dead serious. Because you'll see, like whatever, a church group or whatever going down the road, they have a 15 passenger van and it's packed with probably 16, 17, 18 kids and the driver, and it's no problem. But for school districts, they can't.
Even if they have a CDL, it has
No.
nothing to do with
No,
that.
it has nothing to do, it has everything to do with the fact that it can carry more than 9 passengers plus the driver. And this has been the case since I started doing this. And one of the responses that I had heard way back in the early days of me doing this was that there was legislation in reference to like a request from a bus drivers association or some kind of lobbying group, and don't quote me on that because I might be wrong, that pushed for legislation in that regard, and it's been law for quite some time. So, minivan, you're fine. Like an SUV, you're fine. When we ordered like that Ford Sprinter van or whatever they call that, those are custom and you have them build it for you. You say, I want a 10 passenger or 10, not passenger, a 10 person van, a driver plus 9, and then they're configured correctly and you're fine. What about if you buy a 12 passenger van and take this back seat out? Illegal, you can't do that. So it's those sorts of things. Yeah.
So do we have any other vehicles that aren't in our fleet that we have to kind of like purge and get replacements for?
Well, there will be over time. In the short term, there isn't. But what it allows us is an opportunity, for example, when the next minivan or Equinox or whatever that's in the fleet is going to be replaced, we can evaluate what our transportation needs are, and so that it may not have to be replaced at that time because we have an extra. And this is not extra, it's going to be used daily, but if the needs change, it would technically be extra, so we wouldn't have to replace. So when we do a replacement in the future, that would be in conjunction with an evaluation of needs, right? We're not going to just replace a vehicle because we have to. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And we don't have to do modifications to this for wheelchairs or anything, just drive it as is.
That's correct. Yep.
Any additional questions from the group?
I just want to make sure on the record that we were notified.
Yes.
In the board
Yep.
update before, yeah.
Yep.
Appreciate that. We're not going to do anything flying blind, but sometimes we have to make quick decisions. So, yeah.
Okay, the next one, discuss the renewal of the Sanford Falls Unity Boys Soccer Co-op. That information is starts on page 9.
Yeah, and this is standard, we have to do it, I think, annually, right, Mike? Yeah. Every 2 years.
The contract.
And it's our soccer co-op with Unity. One of the questions out there that I just received via email, and I don't know if this person's watching online or not, but I'll respond to the email too, was questioning whether it's classified as a boys co-op, and that it is. So it's during the boy, and we have girls that play. And you can have, by WIA rule, you can have girls that play on boys teams, but not vice versa currently, is the way the approach is. And so it is a boys sport because it occurs in the fall. And if you have girls on your roster, that's completely acceptable. So it would be a boys sport. Girls soccer actually occurs in spring. If we had a girls team, it would be a spring sport. And there is no co-ed soccer league that's recognized by the WIA. So for fall boys or spring girls, and for fall, girls can play on the boys team. Make sense?
In this contract, it's always a 50-50 cost split, but I had a question, because our numbers, it seems like over the last couple of years, have always been larger than Unity's. Do we foresee, like, or is this even a thing that can happen with co-ops? Maybe I just need education on this. Down the road, if our numbers continue to increase and their numbers either stay lower or decrease, can they ever approach with like a 70-30? Is that?
I'm not sure.
I don't think it's 50-50 though, Tashina.
Oh, it isn't?
No, every co-op that I've ever dealt with, it's prorated based on your percentage of the overall team. So you're going to pay, I mean, we have the lion's share of athletes, and I can almost guarantee we're paying the lion's share of the coaching salary and the other things that are
This is a
required.
50-50 cost sharing co-op.
Yeah.
That's shocking to me because that's typically not the case.
I don't know.
But I think when we first put it in, it was 50-50, but this, I think the kids' numbers, maybe it just has never changed.
Where are you seeing the 50-50? I'm sorry,
Page 10,
Yeah.
page 10.
or
No,
mine,
you're on the.
It's like after the bolded section,
Yeah.
it says like all the,
Very well.
I'm in the
You're at
bigger
the bottom.
field, that's
the students, and then
Bottom
all,
page
there's
two.
a large bold.
Yeah, it's,
I'm on page 2. The district should cost of our boys soccer program at 50-50 cost sharing co-op for all related expenses. Interesting. I mean, more power to us. Typically co-ops are gonna be a formula based on how many
well, that's
athletes.
why I was asking, because I thought that I had seen it the last couple times we've done this, it's always been 50-50, but like our numbers have always been larger. So I just thought, like, as we're continuing to like monitor our
Yeah.
expenses and such, is this something that we see coming down the road?
It's conceivable. It's also conceivable that Unity says we don't want to be the host school anymore, you guys do it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So these things can change, yes.
What does that mean that they're, because I see it says lead school unity, what does that mean?
Doesn't mean really anything. What it means is they were the ones that initiated the application and the initial
Got it.
cooperative approach. Yeah.
Does practice take place at Unity then, or is it a split? I know they split games.
Yeah, they split games, and I think the majority of time the practices are at Unity. But they do practice here on occasion too.
So do our kids then, or they have to arrange their own transportation
No.
to get there? They don't?
No, we transport.
We transfer them.
And our response to the parents and students is, if we're providing transportation, you're using the transportation. See what I'm saying?
But each co-op then is different, like we.
That's correct.
So not all of them include transportation, right? It has to be included in the co-op?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking too about the number of kids. I know one of the references would be the hockey program, you know, and if you have the logistics of sending a bus from here to Somerset, pardon me, is much different for 6 kids or 8 kids is much different than a bus with 19 or 20 from here to Unity. What I'll say too, and I know in rural western Wisconsin, it's very atypical, but in other parts of the state, like in Wisconsin Rapids, our kids were expected to get to their practice on their own for virtually every sport. Baseball and softball were not, well, baseball wasn't on the premises of any school district facility. Soccer was at an alternate location, that was an elementary school, that was quite a ways from the high school, see what I'm saying? And it was just, the way the school did it was, you get there, the practice starts at 3:45, you figure out how you get there. Kind of thing. So Typically, our schools do provide a ton of transportation and try to meet the needs of, you know, families and getting kids where they need to be, but it is not a requirement for athletics. Yeah.
We don't have any idea why, like, our numbers have always been higher historically according to this co-op agreement, but our numbers have gone down quite a bit over the last couple of years. Is that just lack of interest? Is there some other reason why there's less?
Well, the 27-28 is going to be a projection that's simply based on if everybody that's currently on the team stays on the team minus the seniors, because you're not gonna know the incoming freshmen. We don't have a middle school soccer team,
Right, okay.
right, to draw from. I don't know, I would have to look at a longer trajectory. From 19 to 18 in 2 years, 25, 26 to this year, that's clearly not terrible.
Yeah, I was just-
I'm thinking the 15 is simply 3 seniors are gonna graduate, and we know at least 15 kids will be there, and then we'll probably pick up some freshmen, so that number will be different come 27, 28. With a high of 26 and 24, 25, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what the drop-off was to 19 for last year. Do you know off the top of your
I
head?
do
Mike?
not know how that number is.
Clearly, some of them are seniors that graduated. I'd also point to the fact that we generally have smaller classes than we, so you're gonna see numbers generally decrease a little bit over time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great. Any other comments, questions? Good to move on? Next one, discuss the childcare rates increase.
Yep, and I'll, as I did in the board update, I'll publicly out myself too. We forgot, this was incorporated into a lease, string of emails regarding the lease, and Jess at the time, in an appropriate fashion, had required an increase in the rates and had communicated as such with families, and we neglected to include it. So it should have been on last month's board meeting, but between Lorraine and I, we didn't pick up on it, it wasn't on there. So there is a recommendation to increase the rates as is outlined, and then we are seeking your approval at the board meetings, because this is intending to be implemented September 7th.
You know when the last time is that we raised the rates or had an adjustment?
Yeah, last year.
We try to raise once a year a small amount so that we don't have to do big jumps.
I thought it was right. I don't know.
How much is the increase now?
I can't remember what it is, but it's a small percentage. We try to keep it really small, but we do have to increase every
Yeah.
year. We're already, you know, it's daycares.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, the
it's
percentage is
it's not a big percentage that, and again, we'll probably want to do it again next year.
Yeah.
The rent did raise, and I need someone to sign this lease today. Don't let me forget before I leave here. Yeah, I can get the exact percentage if you want.
I can comment, just because I do have a currently 3-year-old, we were paying, or we are paying $195. The increase, we pay $200 a week, so it's not.
So you're talking about effective day.
So it's not.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what it's been every time. We try to keep it.
I think last year, and maybe I'm not remembering this right, but did we see the comparison for what other districts were?
Yes.
Or
And
other
we do.
daycares were charging?
Yes, we're still right in line or below, depending on if you're going north or going south. If you're going south, we're significantly below. And if you're going, you know, across the border, it's just like $30
Yeah.
below, yeah, you know, and then if you go north, it's about the same.
Thanks, Rita.
Mhm.
Great. Anything else on this? Okay. All right, next one, discuss banking financial institutions.
Right, and in your board update, I included some background information on this too. We're not seeking any approval here, it's the idea around a conversation, seeking some direction. So there's been a couple of requests from local community banking institutions to say, hey, have you evaluated, you know, where you're putting your money? And my response was, not during my time here, which admittedly has been relatively short. But I'll double check, talk with Lorraine, and Lorraine said, well, we've been with RCU and what was Midwest One, which is now Nicolay Bank, for several years, like quite a long time. RCU is where we do the majority of our Fund 10 dollar housing, with Midwest One / Nicolay being a bit of a pass-through account that we use. So it's kind of grab bag. RCU does offer very competitive rates, and we're doing quite well with respect to returns on investments that we have with them. However, there has not been a time in recent history that we've done a formal RFP process to say, hey, the school district of St. Croix Falls is looking at potentially making a change in our banking institutions. Would you be willing to put together a package to help our board make a decision on whether or not we want to do that? And of course, I'm paraphrasing. We get that sent out to numerous local banking institutions. I'd argue we probably want to stick with those found in St. Croix Falls and the surrounding area, not the Twin Cities and, other things like that. And do an apples-to-apples comparison with respect to the services that they offer, the returns on investments, interest rates, and all of these pieces, and make a determination. I say all that, but I'll also give you the caveat that it's really tough to change banking institutions for school districts. Like, it's a pain, and it's tough for the city, and it's tough for municipalities because of the practices and how things are set up electronically in our systems. There's a number of things. So I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm saying when I'm approached by a local banking institution, and there's no pressure here, these people aren't doing hard sales, but just conversationally speaking, I want to be able with a straight face say, you know what, we've explored it and the board doesn't want to move in that direction at this time. I don't make that decision, that's a decision that you guys make. If it was up to Lorraine and I, we wouldn't change because it's just easier. But as far as the school board's concerned, you might say, well, maybe it does make sense that we see what's out there. The last piece I mentioned, like I said in the board update, is we typically want to have at least 2 banking institutions. You don't want to be locked in just with one for a variety of reasons in terms of access for cash flow or systems issues, or there's a number of things that can potentially do happen, and you don't want to be tied up with only one institution. I would also say, and this will be the last thing, probably don't want more than 2, because it gets a little bit confusing. Because another thing might be, well, just add another bank and put some money there. Okay, well, we gotta have a protocol, you know what I'm saying? How often are we gonna do that? And as a local school district, kind of spread the love might be a thing we wanna do. Usually that benefits us financially. So that's the whole spiel.
Is there a way to kind of get a feel without, because the RFPs are work, like what they're looking to offer versus going through prior to doing an official?
Totally. We could do an informal RFP process where we do outreach to local banks and just say, hey, look, we don't know, but we may be considering shopping the market, so what do you offer currently for your interest rates and, services and that sort of thing. We could put together an email, Lorraine and I, an email or some kind of a script kind of contact to send out to local banks to see, and do a comparison with what we're currently doing. We could also reach out to who we're currently working with and say, we might be looking, can you do any better, you know what I'm saying? So there's a number of things that you could do here, but no, nothing would lock us into doing anything, and we can certainly ask questions.
When you talk about services, do we play into consideration what they might do for things like community involvement, donations? Not that they can commit to say, well, here, if you come with us, we'll give you $20,000 a year, but do we look at those types of things too?
Not explicitly, although I wouldn't be shocked if there's like in a portfolio statement or in an RFP statement that an institution would say, and by the way, we have contributed this much over this many years to local school districts or something like that. But that, of course, being a basis of decision making is probably not a wise choice, right?
Yeah.
And frankly, any partnership we have with a local institution, whether it be banking or anything else, and they're willing to provide a contribution to the school district, we're going to welcome with open arms. But that isn't with a preconceived notion that we're going to either maintain or increase our relationship as a result of that donation, which would be illegal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that's an impact, like if you know a local bank spreads their money around the community to the school district and other charitable projects that the district has a vested interest in, right? Like benefits the community or our kids, I don't think there's anything wrong with considering that. So, you know what I mean? But if the bank said, if you go with us, we'll donate $20,000 to the Star Foundation, you'd be like, okay, hold on. Typically, they're not gonna do that because banks have very explicit rules with what they can do too. Yeah.
Any other thoughts? Do we want to pursue it or keep it the same? I guess we kind of have to make that decision. I'm not trying to steal it from you.
No, I'm trying to think. I guess I think I'm more in favor of doing maybe like that
Initial
email,
request.
yeah, over like putting into an RFP, especially if we had a really good relationship with our current banking situation. I think we just kind of explore, just make it exploratory.
Okay. What we'll do is just a feeler. So we'll make a few contacts, ask some questions, see what they can provide. And from there, we'll do a little bit of a comparison, and I'll share that with you probably in a board update so that you have it in your back pocket. If it's something we want to bring forward for a potential harder look, then we will. Plus, we're not going to do a darn thing until the audit's wrapped up, and then we wouldn't do a darn thing until the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th. So this can't be a rush job. Like, we wouldn't change in January, it's not going to happen. Make sense?
Yep.
Perfect. That's what we'll do. So if you don't hear anything for a while, you'll know why. I mean, I'll get the details, and it's not going to be a rush. Perfect.
All right, and then the next one, discuss the designated fund balance.
Yeah, part of our conversations with our auditors last year and a bit again this year is with respect to the board taking action to quote-unquote designate portions of our fund balance, and this is explicitly with Fund 10, which is our general operating fund. The recommendation by auditors, because we do have a very healthy fund balance, is that we identify and designate portions of that fund balance so that on paper and largely to the state of Wisconsin, it's identified as having an explicit purpose for the future. So the two easy things that I cite for you, like I provided in the board update, are simple things that I know we're gonna have to spend money on in the future. We did last year, would be like buses. So we would look at doing a calculation to say, okay, we intend to replace one bus every other year for the next 10 years, 8 years, 7 years, knowing that each bus is gonna cost us around $150,000 to $160,000 to $170,000. So let's earmark X number of dollars for future bus purchases. You can do a similar thing with facility renovations or improvements, or maintenance and upkeep, where you carve out or sequester portions of the fund balance to be designated as such. That one's a little bit more complicated because arguably you could say, well, the whole thing, that's what we're gonna use it for, you know what I'm saying? You typically, you never designate fund balance for operations because what you're saying then is you're gonna deficit spend and that's not gonna last very long, just to run the show. But you designate for things like long-term capital expenditures, like buses and facilities. Those are typically the two areas. The reason it's more difficult with facilities is because you're gonna do ballpark sorts of things where you think what you're gonna do. Keep in mind, we also have Fund 46 that was established and other mechanisms that we can access for paying for certain long-term capital improvements. But coming up with a number is what's difficult. So you say, okay, 500,000. Well, you could have one boiler go to hell, and that's 450 of it. You know what I mean? Or 350 of it. So having that sort of plan or designated for facilities may mean that you still have to punt and make some decisions, you know, in the heat of the moment, because you're clearly not going to carve out several $1 million and just say for facilities. There is a portion that you want to remain undesignated, which is then, of course, used for cash flow and the other things that fund balance is used for. So my question to you really is, are we interested in designating fund balance? If that's the case, that's what's recommended by auditors. We'll put together a couple of scenarios or options for you to potentially approve, a suite of options to pick from. There's really no downside because you can change designation in the future if you need to. But then it's identified as such, and so when it's evaluated primarily at the state level by the legislature or other state entities, it would be illustrated as earmarked for something, not savings. And you folks that are on the board recognize that fund balance isn't technically savings. It is our ability to maintain and meet payroll obligations based off of the way we receive taxes and equalized aid from the state, which is not every 2 weeks or 30 days. And you get a whole bunch at once, and then you go several months without any. And so fund balance is what's used to cover that gap, to make sure that we don't have to short-term borrow. And when that's all said, and it's a primary role of fund balance, as well as future purchases or renovations.
Historically, in the past, we've done that, and buses were pretty common, stuff that we'd always, get one a year, like is it one every other year? I think 1 year we were gonna need a new truck with a plow or something like that, did that kind of stuff. So we used to call it Christmas in July. That's, so I think that's the way we should do it. We have the opportunity, we haven't had much of that the last couple of years though, right?
No, and so like last year, arguably, anytime you overspend your budget, you're using fund balance. I mean, flatly, that's how it works. So last year, for example, we had projected was it 74,000 or 70,000 deficit, Lorraine?
75.
75. And we also purchased a bus. And when we're concluding the auditor getting through the end of the audit, I think our deficit's closer to 100,000, give or take. Am I being right with that?
So far.
And then you would say, well, you said 70. Well, that was out with all the purchasing of the bus, so technically we did pretty good. You see what I'm saying? Because the bus cost us $160,000. And so when that's all said and done, we purchased the bus, we're 100,000 over. I can make an argument that it was because we purchased the bus. It came out of fund balance. Alternatively, if you have a relatively low spending year and you put 300,000 in your fund balance and then buy a bus after the fact, that's technically going to come out of your fund balance. So you're going to overspend the next budget you're taking the bus out of. Is that making sense? So anytime you end a fiscal year with a surplus, that goes to fund balance. Anytime you end a year with a deficit, that comes out of fund balance. The accounting is agnostic to how that transpired. Meaning, if you make a plan and we're going to use a designated fund balance, it's the same as just using fund balance. The designation is around telling the broader community and the public and the state, these are our plans for this fund balance. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if it is designated, then you can't be like, well, you got plenty of money, just overspend your budget, because that's not how it works. For operations, because the lion's share of what we spend on is paying our people and benefits and things like that. That's 65-ish% of our total budget. And once that becomes fund balance expenditure, you got a problem. That means you got staff. So we're not there.
So the auditors are asking us, it's not like we have a surplus of money, they just want us to have something, but in case.
Well, we do have a healthy fund balance because of the district is in excellent fiscal shape.
Yeah.
The rub is that currently 100% of our fund balance is non-designated. It's just there as fund balance.
Yeah.
So when you designate portions of it, de facto removes or lowers, the percentage of your undesignated fund balance, which you will always have, which is what they're saying. You should have a lower undesignated fund balance. They're not saying have a lower fund balance, they're saying have a lower undesignated fund
How
balance.
it's categorized.
That's correct.
Okay.
And arguably, when you know the deal, you're kind of like, why? Like, if we overspend, it comes out of fund balance, what difference does it make? It's the message. Here's what we intend to do. So also then as a board, you're like, yeah, no, we said, we designated $500,000 for bus purchases. We purchased the bus this year. It's not shocking to me, we're over 200,000 over. That's what we designated the fund balance for. When you get to the end of the fiscal year, we purchased the bus, for example. So that's what really what it comes down to. It's labeling, is what you're
I was
doing.
gonna say,
You're
it seems
labeling.
like it's like percent.
100%.
Perception.
Yep.
That was a
think about how you would have to run your own household if your entire family income was provided to you 2 times a year. You couldn't do what you do. Arguably, most people couldn't. You know what I mean? And that stopgap, the fund balance, is what allows us to make payroll and pay for benefits and pay invoices before us getting any kind of deposits from property taxes or equalized aid or grants or whatever. And they've explored, well, maybe we just distribute the funds on a more frequent basis. But the state doesn't want to do that because as they're waiting to distribute the funds, those funds are invested and they get investment interest off of the funds being invested, which adds to the funds, which is why they don't want to give it to schools or other municipalities too soon because they're undercutting themselves, which makes sense. So, yeah. Probably more than you bargained for, but that's the whole deal.
All right, so that concludes the committee meeting portion. Then you want to take hold?
Yep,
All right.
thank you. I'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with a pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Matt Bryce, Tashina Rager,
Here.
Don Milky,
Here.
Jessica Milky,
Here.
Brent McCurdy.
Here. Sheena, looks like you're gonna read the rules of the mission for us. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, the mission statement. The mission of the St. Croix Falls, the mission of the school district of St. Croix Falls is to provide a supportive, student-centered learning environment that cultivates character, fosters academic excellence, and embraces diversity. Board meeting rules. Focus on the mission, vision, statements of the district. Come prepared, be respectful of others, and open, accepting of ideas. Actively participate, avoid side conversations. Remember, board meetings are open forum.
Thank you. We'll move on to principal's comments. We'll start with Ms. Platt.
Well, I'll start with shout out to the transportation department who did a great job these first 2 days. That is at the elementary school, we know the 2 things that matter most are lunch and getting kids to and from school. And when it goes as smoothly as it did these last few days, I just want to give a big shout out to the whole team. It was amazing, despite, as Craig mentioned, us this year really having the biggest need we've ever had for special transport for students. Everybody's doing an amazing job. And a big part of that goes thanks to Deb Metzen, who is the CAS coordinator and makes things hum. We held open houses for Little Saints 3, and that's the one classroom we have at Dresser Elementary School for our daycare. And the kids are doing great there. They're all brand new students at the big school. We had the open house for the elementary school last week, and that was very well attended. And tomorrow night is our open house at Dresser for the 4K kiddos who are doing pretty well. Not as much crying as there are some years, so it's been nice.
Not like at the high school.
Or in the teacher's lounge. Yeah. Our in-services were packed and we had so much good learning and good camaraderie, and we're just ready to go. Everybody has just had a great time these first few days, and we're all really happy to be back.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wallace.
And I echo Rita's comment about in-service getting up and running here. It was great having staff back in the building. It gets awful lonely over the summer in the office by yourself. It was nice to have staff back in the building, diving back into their classrooms and getting ready for the school year. I do want to give a little shout out to Rita here for the speaker that we brought in. He kind of reaffirmed my educational philosophy: if you're not laughing with middle school kids and staff, you're doing something wrong. She was going to blame me if it went poorly, and not give me the credit if it went well.
I did it.
So it was a great time. It was a lot. It was a nice way to kick off the in-service. It was much needed laughs. Our open house was another great success. It was great having the kids back in the building, getting used to their lockers and new teachers. We had the opportunity to meet with new 5th grade families coming into the middle school to give them kind of a rundown of just some changes and how middle school might be different from elementary school to kind of get parents at ease. We did that process last spring with the 4th graders at the elementary school, and a lot of the same information was communicated to parents at open house last night, and also for our new families to the district too, the opportunity to kind of just learn some of our middle school protocols and procedures. So it was nice to have students in the building at that time. And Jumpstart's been great. It's been a great start to the school year. Lots of laughs and lots of bright-eyed and big-eyed 5th graders wondering where they're supposed to go. So it's been a great first 2 days, and with that we also have our middle school sports seasons kicking off. We kicked off this past week. Looks like we have great numbers for our different sports we offer for middle school for volleyball, cross country, and football. So excited for the start of the school year. It's been a good start.
So the middle school sports start technically before?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, they started on Monday. Yep, and I think football had their camp the week before. So they've kind of been at it for a little bit. So.
Mr. Wilson?
All right, so we open house obviously last week, that went well. People filtering into the building again, and big-eyed freshmen, just like big-eyed 5th graders in the new building. So that night's always a success, so that was awesome. Fall sports are underway. We're gonna have a great fall season. Success is gonna be, actually I'll say as expected. Because I didn't know do things lately. Yesterday was our freshman first day experience. We had just freshmen in the building for the day, and that goes so well. The entire teaching staff, we've got a handful of teachers who don't teach freshmen, but they're involved in that all day long to get to know those students and show them around, and the team building, camaraderie, those type of things. The freshmen walk in and everybody's seeing who's got the new clothes and those type of things. That's the first thing they're doing, and by the end of the day, they're hanging out and, appreciative of being back with one another. So it's a great way to kick off. School connectedness is by far one of the most important pieces of success, and it's a great way to start the school year for a freshman when they come in. And to not have the big kids around too is very helpful. Yeah. Some of the freshmen they're little. They're just little kids right now, and walking in with the big kids can be intimidating. So it's a great way to start the year, so that was awesome. Our district academic and career planning team met the other day. So we have an E for E plan, education for employment plan through DPI, through CSA and DPI. Essentially what we do as a district to help our kids grow up and to be working adults, so to speak. So representative from the elementary, 2 representatives from the middle, and then a couple from the high school got together and we worked our plan. And that'll come to the board here in the near future, in the next couple of meetings for approval. So we worked on that went well. Let's see, what else do we have? And then last, I guess, but not least, is the U.S. News and World Report Best High School ranking came out, and they use metrics. I'm going to look at this or read this to you. They use metrics on a lot of different things. And our high school this year ranked 86 out of the 616 in the state. So really, really well done. And they're looking at a wide variety of things when they put this ranking together. 30% of it is college readiness, which involves AP testing, AP opportunity, college class opportunities, scrolling here, state assessment proficiency, so how well kids are testing in the state tests, state performance. So they look at different metrics in our subcategories, financial need area, minorities and such, and compare those. Underserved student performance is 10%, graduation rate, which we're always very high, obviously, is 10%. So they take all those metrics and put them together. So they're looking for a well-rounded school who tests well and provides great future college and career readiness is the way I would describe it. So really, really solid results there. Fun to see that, and proud of our teaching staff for doing what they do. They put in a lot of time and a lot of effort to provide those opportunities. That's what I have.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Braun?
Me next?
Well, we go to Jacob.
You want to do Jacob? Put him on the spot? What do you got for us, Jacob? What cool's happened for you? What are you looking forward to?
I don't
Tell
know.
us also about your photo.
What?
Yes.
Photo?
Today we had senior banners, so like everybody was bringing in their props and stuff, and me and my friends went fishing this morning and brought in some bass. for our senior photos. Don't worry, I didn't make a mess all around the school, but.
It's unique.
This is true. He's holding 2 bass that they had freshly caught this morning
Yep.
in his senior photo for the banner.
Yeah, and Daniel Ansley's kissing one.
Daniel Hansen's kissing one, which is fantastic.
Amazing. Nothing says a
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. But yeah, just ready to start the school year, I guess. Sports are going full. Football's doing really good, and they had a really good one against Unity. It's a cool game to watch.
And you're a cross-country guy.
Yep, we have our first meet tomorrow, home meet. Yep, so season's going quick now.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, no
We weren't
problem.
expecting you until next month. But we'll take it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah. That's commitment.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Brown, you're up.
Thanks, Jacob.
Yes, thank you.
Well, just this week, I got to do guest announcements at the elementary and the middle school. Yeah.
We do have feedback for you.
Yeah.
You're a little fast on the
I'm not looking
pledge.
for feedback. Keep your opinions to yourself. And as I've said my entire career, it's about entertaining me, not other people.
Fair enough.
At the elementary, I had stopped by, and it was just by happenstance, had been during the announcement time, and Rita's like, oh, do you want to do the pledge and the announcements? And I'm like, sure, so I did that. It was reported to me by a staff member at the middle school who has a child at the elementary who said, yeah, Mr. Brown sang the national, or sang the Pledge of Allegiance to us today. And he said, sang?
That's how I remember it.
Yeah. So I thought that was awesome. And then it was just today, at the middle school, Mr. Wallace was indisposed, and Christina and Molly were talking about, oh, we should do announcements, should we wait, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, I'll do announcements. And then I struggled through it, because I stepped on my tongue a few times, and I couldn't get out of my own way, but it still was super fun. So I got to do that. And what I would mention too, I don't know how you quantify this, but I also know that sometimes your interpretation of your surroundings is wholly augmented by your state of mind, right? So for me, maybe it is that I'm just seeing what I'm choosing to see, but on Tuesday and today, having kids come here was so fun. I mean, the majority of kids are smiling, laughing, happy to see their friends and staff members. There's conversation going on. I'm talking largely middle and high school, which is where I spend most of my time because of where the office is, but of course at the elementary, everybody's having a great time too. And it's not atypical for elementary kids to be excited to come to school, but it's very apparent to me that there's kids that are excited to come to renew or recultivate those relationships that they have with adults in this building and in the middle school. It's super cool. And so maybe I'm pretending that this is what I'm seeing, but it certainly feels that vibe, like that vibe for me. And opening in service was super fun. Devin
Seabold.
thank you, was the gentleman we brought in. My favorite comment that he made was, thank you for coming today to this mandatory meeting. Which was his opening line, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it was great.
Well, all right. Did any board members have an opportunity to attend any trainings? All right. I'm assuming we have a visitor press. No public comment.
No public comment, just a quick introduction. I'm Keith Mogul, I'm running for State Assembly. I have been endorsed by WEAC as a candidate. You are the 11th school district that I visited, so I have visited all the school districts in the 75th, local Burnett County now, and attended all the school board meetings, and I'm just trying to gather up all the issues. I picked up the van one, I already wrote the van size down, that makes no sense to me. So it's one of these common sense things that I'm trying to gather up across the board through all the school districts. I've been extremely involved in the siren issue, just so you know that. I've attended a lot of their meetings and gone through their situation. So that's why I'm here, just to introduce myself and let you know that I'm here to listen. And Craig, you and I have already exchanged information. So, nice to meet you all.
Yeah, thanks for coming. You're welcome anytime.
I'm happy to be a resource to any human being running for public office that wants to hear my big fat yip yapper talk about public education.
Well, I've heard a lot of it, trust me. From a lot of
I'll give you some stuff you haven't heard
superintendents,
before. But that invitation's open to everybody, that's the God's honest truth, because I think that's how we get the intel out. Most people don't know, and it's not their fault, there's no way to know unless you're
yes.
engaged.
It's really,
Awesome.
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on, if there are any presentations or awards, and we'll move on to the consent agenda, and I'll take a motion to approve that consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Jess,
I'll second.
second by Tashina. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We'll move on to curriculum and policy. Look at policy 384, procedures in the event of death of a student or staff member. This was discussed at our last board meeting. I'll take a motion to approve that policy.
I'll make that motion to approve policy 384, the procedures in the event of the death of a student or staff member, as presented at the last meeting.
All right, we have a motion by Tashina,
I'll second.
a second by Don. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Next, we'll go on to policy 344.52, the graduation exercise, which we also talked about in our last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the policy 344.52 for graduation exercises as presented.
We have a motion by Don,
I'll second.
second by Tashina. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We'll move on to the vote on the board 26-27 board goals, which also were talked about at the last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2026-2027 board goals.
Motion by Jess,
I'll second.
second by Don. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm sorry, opposed? Motion is carried. Next is the vote on the proposal for the additional in-school employment opportunities for the transition age special education students.
I'll make that motion to approve the proposal that was presented tonight for the additional in-school employment opportunities for transition age special education students.
I'll second.
Motion by Tashina and a second by Jess. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. This isn't big enough for roll call, is it? No. Opposed? I'm sorry, let's do it over. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried.
Twice now.
Right.
It's double good.
All right, moving on to financial. We'll vote on the student mental health services contract with Cartwheel Health Services. This is what was discussed at the last meeting.
I'll make the motion, but I did want to ask, we had some
Let's
questions.
make the motion and then we'll do the further discussion.
Okay, gotcha. I'll make the motion to approve the Cartwheel Health Services.
We have a motion by Don,
I'll second.
second by Jess. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, we had some outstanding questions, or some questions last time that I think you're gonna see if you can find out. They're not necessarily pertinent to voting on them, I think, but, like if some of the services were available or if they worked together. I don't have them all written down. In some of our discussion we talked about
With the other
with the
agency,
other
right, that does the
agency.
remote?
So they don't, there's no coordination of services, no. You have to think of it as an independent provider,
Okay,
right? So if there is a change, like if you went from one orthodontist to another, you're gonna have to cut ties there and move over. What was the other thing that we had talked about? We had talked about the cost and what's incorporated into the cost. And I think Tashina did an excellent job of mentioning that what you're paying for basically is that availability on behalf of students. There will also be additional health or Medicare, Medicaid billing that the organization does, which is completely their in their control, not in ours. It's not a free service to students. It would be coordinated with their parents' health insurance or Badger Care or whatever the case may be. Trying to think of what else there was.
I think that maybe the other one,
Private location. So kids would have a Chromebook or an iPad or something in a private location to do the services. They, of course, do not have to leave school. They don't need to get a, parent pickup and drop off. A parent can call in and say they have their therapy at this time. Okay, no problem. So they get a pass just to do their thing. And so it saves the parents time and energy for that.
And this is just through the school year, right? Not through the summer?
Correct. I'm not aware that they continue to provide services in the summer, although I did not ask that question. I wouldn't think there's anything that would preclude a family from reaching out and saying, can we continue for June, July, and August? And again, that would be beyond our control. Since it's virtual, and if they're getting reimbursement or get paid for the service, I'm sure that they would continue. But that would be independent of any involvement on our behalf. So really what we do as a school district with a contract like this is we just allow it to happen. And we offer that as a service that folks can engage with. That's basically what our role is. Very similar to the in-person with an MOU. It's not meant to be a direct funnel of all of our kids to a specific program or to a, you know what I'm saying? It's an option and resource resource option that parents might find attractive because they don't have to drive. They don't have to pull the kid out of school or whatever the case may be.
And this was a 3-year contract, right?
Correct.
And it was what, 19,000 for the 3 years?
Correct. So we're paying about half of the total cost over that 3-year period.
And do we, I can't remember, do we pay for it all upfront or is it annual?
According to my interpretation, is they'll bill it out on an annual basis. So we'll see a smaller amount this year, a little bit larger next, and a little larger after that. In conjunction with when we get the invoice after approval, we may, and Lorraine and I may have a conversation with them saying, bill us all up front, we'll talk, we'll figure that out, what's best for the district. Because frankly, I don't know that we know this year is going to be a great year to incur expenses, but I think I'm confident that 3 years from now is not going to be a great year to incur expenses either unless the state actually does something with the school budget. So Lorraine and I will connect and we'll do it either way, either in the payment plan or all up front.
All right. Then, as we stated before, too, this is obviously one of our board goals. It's good mental health. So we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I just have one item, because I know, like, once we get through this item, then, not saying we never revisit it, but we talked about how, like, over the 3 years, we will do tracking on how the service is utilized, all of that, so that at the end of the 3 years, we know if it's a service that we would want to continue, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. That's all.
Yep, if we come back to you and say, well, look, over 3 years, we served 6 kids, we're not going to do it.
Yeah, okay.
All right, any other discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, we have to do roll call on this one.
You could if you want, I mean, it's under 20, so
Oh,
you
that's
don't
right.
have
yeah.
to.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to the renewal of the school resource officer with a contract with the city of St. Croix Falls. I'll take a motion to approve that.
I'll make the motion to approve the school resource officer contract with the city of St. Clair Falls.
We have a motion by Don,
I'll second.
second by Tashina. Is there any further discussion? I just have a question, and I think it's kind of important just to get on the record, because I've had people ask. Many people think the SRO is a security guard. Can you just talk about what the SRO really actually does?
Well, so there are security guard elements to his job, but I would not call that primary at all. Josh in particular, being the human being that he is, now in some cases in SRO, if they're doing what they stand against the wall and they cite kids when they do something illegal and they show up as supervision at ball games and so forth, yeah, I mean, one could make an argument that that's kind of a rent-a-cop that has authority to issue a criminal citation, which Josh does. But Josh is another staff member, not employed directly by us, but he is fully engaged. He is at the elementary doing things with students and at, parent evenings. He's at the middle school, he's at the high school, at events, engaged with kids during lunchtime. He is a significant resource for school safety and security. He does our annual crisis response, helps coordinate crisis response drills, does our annual, I'm trying to think of the, it's escaping my mind, the audit of, school safety and security that we document and submit to the Department of Justice, Office of School Safety. I'm gonna miss certain things that the guy does too, but he brings a lot to the table. So it's as though he's our employee, and because Josh isn't really a cop, he's a school employee here. See what I'm saying? There's a distinct difference. But he does have the ability to act as a cop. It's also very clear in the MOU with the city, as it is in every MOU for an SRO I've ever seen, that he is not to be used for school discipline. He is not. And that is not his role here. I'd say more counselor-esque, more human being resource, more like a teacher or a counselor than a cop. But he can write you a ticket if you do something stupid. And there's a potential criminal responsibility there. So, I may have a completely, I believe every school in the state of Wisconsin, or perhaps the nation, should have at least one SRO on staff. I firmly and wholeheartedly believe that. I prefer the fact that they're in full uniform and carrying a firearm. I prefer all of those sorts of things. But I also have a brother that served in law enforcement, and I don't have an adverse relationship with law enforcement. I understand in certain communities that can cause undue stress and anxiety. I don't think it does here. I think it does the exact opposite. It's an avenue for kids to understand what law enforcement is. Job opportunities, the bus race thing, that is not anything he was assigned to do. It's because Josh wanted to do it. You know what I'm saying? And so part of our relationship with the SRO position is because it's Josh. But even still, if we are saying we're going to pay 80% of the salary package of a police officer to have them on site, and all they're going to do is write a ticket when it's necessary and help us with crisis response, I'd still say it's money well spent.
Absolutely.
See what I'm saying? And I wouldn't hold other people to the expectation of what we've done with Josh, because he's just, he's a great guy. Anybody that talks to Josh likes him. He's never written me a ticket, but if he did, maybe I won't like him anymore. He's just a good guy. Jacob, you talk to JT every once in a while?
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, see?
Let's go around lunch and stop talking all
Have you ever gotten a ticket?
No.
So, he really has no reason to talk to you, he's just a good guy.
Yeah.
And he visits the other, like Dresser Elementary and.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Facilities too, right?
Oh, absolutely, and he does a lot of community liaison work too, which has been amazing to have his perspective and willingness to reach out to families and offer support.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, and also, I'm just thinking of this now, which is shocking to me. Very assistive in terms of coordination with the county and social
Yes.
services, human services, incredibly, because those entities, law enforcement and human services, are intermixed for a number of particularly juvenile-related things where that allows us additional access to information, as well as a conduit for, going to court for like a CHIPS petition or whatever the case may be. So there's absolutely 100% of tangible benefits of having him on staff. Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those, then roll call. All right, we'll do a roll call vote.
Matt Bryce, Tashina Rager,
Yes.
Don Milky,
Yes.
Jessica Milky,
Yes.
Brent McCurdy.
Yes. All right, approved. We'll move on with the purchase of the 2023 Chrysler Pacifica.
Yep. Which is now their minivan. Used to be the Caravan.
I'll take a motion to approve that purchase.
I'll go ahead and make that motion. We are approving that purchase of the 2023 Chrysler.
Motion by Dashina,
I'll second.
second by Don. Any further discussion?
Jessica.
I'm sorry. Jessica. I'm looking at her.
Well, last meeting I forgot Dylan's name. All I could come up with was Milky, and I didn't want to say that.
You.
All right, we have a motion by Dashina, a second by Jessica. Any further discussion? All those in favor say, oops, this is over to roll call vote.
Matt Bryce, Tashina Rager,
Yes.
Don Milky,
Yes.
Jessica Milky,
Yes.
Brent McCurdy.
Yes. Motion approved. Next, we'll vote on the St. Croix Falls Unity Boys Soccer Co-op. I'll take a motion to approve that.
I'll approve the St. Clair Falls Unity Boys Soccer Co-op.
A motion by Jess,
I'll second.
second by Don. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And next, we'll vote on the increase in the child care rates, or just flat out the child care rates, I guess, the new rates.
I'll make a motion to approve the child care rates as presented.
We have a motion by Don,
I'll second.
second by Dashina. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Do you have any announcements? No? All right, we have upcoming events. The first official day of school is September 1st. Then we have our board meeting on the 9th, committee and board meeting on the 9th, and the next one would be the 23rd of September. Tashina, would you please read the rules?
Yes, I will.
Or review them, I'm sorry.
Yep, so reviewing the board meeting rules, we focused on the mission, vision statements of the district. We came prepared, we were respectful of others and open accepting of ideas. We actively participated, we avoided side conversations, and we remembered board meetings are an open forum.
All right, thank you. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
A motion by Jess,
I'll second.
second by Tashina. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.